The Bastard Movie Archives, Hangover, with Andy and Mix. You never asked for it. Ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Hey,
Keep cutting that off sooner and sooner.
well, it gets worse and worse. Hey, I'm Andy Steinhauer.
And I'm Max Weiland.
And this is the Hangover version of Riki-Oh.
The story of Ricky.
The story was it
Riki-Oh, the story of Ricky.
Oh, okay.
There's a subtitle.
That's a bit redundant.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. I mean,
Riki-Oh, the story of Ricky. I don't know. It sounds like a rap song. It sounds like it could be like a rap song or something.
Yeah. This was one of the more insane ones we watched. I think, because he had actual superpowers.
Yes, this is the first time we've had a character who legitimately has superpowers, like punches through walls and can just tie his tendons back together.
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
And he just be shot and be okay with it, I guess. Like he learns like a special in a graveyard too. In the graveyard where he learns like all of his special powers from his uncle over his like dad's dead grave or whatever. But yeah, no, this is definitely one of the more ridiculous ones. This was based off a Japanese comic, and it was made back in Hong Kong when Hong Kong was owned by the British still. So anyone who knows like Hong Kong Kung Fu cinema, it was often like Shaw Brothers. It was very bloody, very not okay, and very critical of society usually.
Before we get started, though, we just finished shooting our Christmas special, which should be up shortly.
All right, I just jumped into it.
Yeah,
we gotta like start. We gotta plug our shit and talk about our lives.
That's right. You're a little bit excited about this story of Riki-Oh. I was certainly entertained, but yeah, we shot our Christmas special, which is sort of a tradition of ours, and it's also sort of a tradition of ours to like write it and shoot it really quickly off the cuff.
Yes, that's not an intentional tradition.
Right.
That's just what happens. We did it better this time though, because last time we shot it like 2 days, but I think it was like the week, but like 4 days before Christmas when you were just writing it, and I was just watching you write it on Google Docs, and then we shot it the next day, and I slept all Christmas Day. I didn't do anything on Christmas because I edited that thing overnight to finish that.
Yeah, this time we have a buffer, and this time I wrote it specifically to be easy to shoot, and
yeah, it's less than 5 minutes, and that's what counts.
Yeah,
that made my life so much better.
It's this time of year, man. It's rough this time of year.
Yeah, everyone's busy, and no one can do anything, and everyone's broke because it's the holidays or traveling.
Yep.
It's
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, right. The holidays. But yeah, so we did that.
We did that.
Yeah, so we've been real busy. We've been Valley Girls launched. It's on the site.
Launched. Yep.
You can watch it.
You can watch it, like it, upvote it, subscribe.
Yeah, all that shit. Thanks, Andy.
All right, we can get to the shit.
Get to the shit, actual shit now. Yeah, so
Riki-Oh.
It starts with him going to prison
on a short bus
with a soundtrack that is obviously John Carpenter. It's just they just hired John Carpenter to come in and play 2 notes, 'cause that's how. It's like The Thing or Halloween or anything. Or no, Escape from New York. Doom, doom,
yep.
doom.
God, I wish I could get paid for that.
Right.
Not to discount him, he's a talented.
No,
person.
he's a total genius.
But I think about that like in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, how he makes a living off of just doing these like awful tone poems, and boy, that would be a cool job.
Yeah.
To easily score shit.
It's really funny because you've seen The Thing, right? John
Carpenter's
Carpenter's Thing. So that one isn't John Carpenter. Mancini did the soundtrack for that. But when you listen to it, I'm pretty sure Carpenter was in the room and he's like, I want it to sound like this. And of course, you're talking to the guy who scored like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Like it's like one of the greatest composers of all time. And Carpenter's just like this. Doom, doom. And he's like, yes, I get that's what you want. Because when you listen to that, it's just a slightly more complex symphonic version of.
God.
Doom,
but he scored so. I mean, that's so.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Yeah.
That's so. The other scores he's done are so iconic and like hummable and singable.
Yeah. Unless you listen, I think some of the stuff in the thing that's more Penderecki-esque, where he's like pulling from Penderecki, and it's all like that's just Mancini.
The thing needs that though too.
Yeah, yeah, it works a lot better.
It's a near for the time and the special effects that were available. It's a near flawless movie. I mean, the special effects in the thing.
Yeah, I mean, it is probably one of the greatest. I mean, it's like either that or Alien for the best like sci-fi horror film ever made.
Didn't the thing get some sort of an Oscar for its special effects, like
for Stan Winston stuff? I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know though,
because I think two of the biggies were The Thing got an Oscar for some crazy special effects stuff, and American Werewolf maybe for the transition.
Yeah, there's a whole fucking story behind that, by the way, about American Horror Story. There's a whole fucking story.
Not Horror Story.
Or not American. Sorry, American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, yeah.
About how it was like because
Dante
was doing The Howling and was
pulled him off they pulled him off The Howling.
Yeah, that John Landis pulled the effects guy off of The Howling and fucked over Dante to like make American Werewolf in London. There's like a whole fucking story about like they hate each other and don't talk because of that, because he kind of fucked him over.
Well,
I guess.
As a viewer, that transition when he turns into a werewolf is fucking epic.
Which, I mean, it's epic in both movies, but
okay.
But you're talking about London, right?
Yeah, American Werewolf. I mean, that's. I think they actually invented a brand new category of some sort of Oscar to give him. If I could, be full of shit,
be makeup or special effects. It would be. I mean, I could see Winston for The Thing getting special effects, because the special effects in The Thing are still to this day some of the best practical effects of all time.
So Ricky's going to prison.
Yeah, we went off on the Carpenter train.
We like this stuff apparently.
Yeah. So yeah, Ricky's going to jail,
in a tiny short bus, and
like for any writers out there, if you want to know how to make your character like immediately a badass, when you have him walk through a metal detector. And have it go off, and then when they take it to some sort of fast x-ray machine and there's 6 bullets lodged in his chest, and they're like, why didn't you get it removed? Souvenirs. That's how you do it. That is how you make there's no better way to write just he's a badass.
Well, there are better ways, because it's kind of stupid and illogical to leave bullets in your chest.
No,
it just is.
He's super powerful.
Well, the superpowers, okay, and it's the future, dystopian future.
But see, it's building to that. The only things we learn about Ricky is how he's more powerful than he lets on at all times.
That's the thing. Is this really took me by surprise that he had superpowers, because I hadn't seen the movie and I wasn't expecting.
Yeah,
him
it's
to have
not
superpowers.
Immediately available.
No.
It's just like, this is just a crazy kung fu, because with kung fu movies sometimes they do things that you're like, obviously it's like heightened reality.
You expect some level of quote unquote superpowers, but really they're just kung fu masters.
So I think so it's kind of funny how the movie kind of plays on your expectations and then just goes full out like, no, this dude has fucking superpowers.
Yeah, and just
can play leaves like a flute.
He gets in prison. He's very badass, and then all of a sudden, this prison gang starts picking on an old man who made a train
for his kid, I think, or something.
Yeah, something like that. But the crazy part is we discover that there's first of all there's an explanation that all prisons in the year 2001.
Oh yes, this is the political. Okay, so get this: the dystopian nightmare future that this prison exists in is when prisons are privatized.
That's our producer, my wife,
who is shocked. Is shocked at like, yeah. So I want everyone to sit in that for a moment. That back in early 1990s Hong Kong, they were like, clearly the world is going to end and turn into an awful place if we privatize prisons.
Yep, that's their dystopian
in 2001
ultimate future. And it seems like everybody, because private prisons in America, most people are like, yeah, that's fucked up, but we still do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Hong Kong called it, I guess.
They did. They called it.
That's when it's. But you have to hand it to these Hong Kong private prisons. Aside from the gangs and the homicidal warden, like, it's a pretty okay place.
Yeah, you can just walk around.
You can walk around with
whatever you want, really.
With like blades and woodworking implements. You can just have all these tools on you.
It's a super unsafe place. Like, it is not up to safety standards.
No.
They literally leave things for you to hurt each other with.
Because in that first scene, they're in the bathroom and this gang walks up to this old guy and they're harassing him, and then they talk about something that sets him off.
Yeah.
And then he attacks them with an old Japanese style wood planer.
Yeah.
And he pulls it out of his like fucking shirt. I mean, everybody's shirt in this prison is a bag of holding.
Yeah, it's another dimension. It's a pocket dimension.
And so he pulls it out and attacks him, and since they're big strong gang members and he's an old man, they turn it around on him. And the first like my complete surprise, they like tear off his nose with this wood planer in one swoop.
And it's nasty looking and hardcore.
Oh man, it is bad.
Yeah.
That's poor old guy.
That's when the movie lets you know what's in store. There's gonna be some shit. You're gonna see some stuff. I think it's interesting because like obviously whatever PowerPoint that this prison was watching about getting repeat offenders back in to keep like attendance. I like calling it attendance in prisons high.
Attendance.
It's like repeat offenders. They just got the stoners who were just like, just leave shit around. Like it's just like trickling candy, just with murder weapons for people to use on each other.
Mm-hmm. And surprisingly too, the guards walk around pretty freely too. So the guards are just around and getting killed a lot too. I mean, it's not safe for anyone.
They read Zimbardo's whole thing on authority. And we're like, if we intermingle the prisoners and the there will be less like authority problems with if you just mingle them and you don't.
As a terrible interpretation of that concept.
Hey, I took AP psychology. I know that. I know how that shit works. Yeah.
Yeah. What happens next? Riki-Oh comes in and saves the old man.
Yeah.
Doesn't save his face, but saves the old man.
No, Riki-Oh's like always waits. It's
right.
Standard tradition of waiting until the last minute to save people. And the guy crushes the little wooden toy.
Yep.
And then magically Riki-Oh pulls a fixed one out of his bag of holding jacket.
Later.
Yeah.
But yeah, Riki-Oh gets a thing, and then
because
Riki-Oh could. We concluded very quickly in this movie that he's powerful enough. He could have just walked out of this prison at any moment.
Yeah, he's there for a reason because he could. It's like the raid, when the cops like trying to fight his way out of the prisoner, but he's there for a reason. It's that because this guy could clearly just murder everybody.
But I think it's an existential reason. Like Riki-Oh, the love of his life is dead, and he's just I think he doesn't really know what he wants, but he knows that he wants justice.
He wants justice, but so the big reveal is that they're growing opium. Okay, so the big thing is the prison guards are getting people addicted to opium and selling opium out on the streets, and that's what killed Ricky's love. So,
and all of this horrible violence is totally worth that.
We never understand that Ricky knows that because it's like he kind of discovers it.
Yeah, does he know it? Because it looks like he discovers it.
It looks like he discovers it, but did he just walk it? Does he just walk into prisons now and he's just let's I murdered 3 people. Well, arrest this man, and then he walks in and murders everybody. He's like, oh, no opium here. All right, but his big thing is it's totally true. Like any amount of violence and bloodshed and terrible things is worth it for a minimum amount of justice. like all the guys who are in this prison, because they could be in this prison for like real reasons.
Yeah, they could be.
It does not fucking matter. The moment that something happens to him that's not just, Ricky just fucking murders people. Like the old guy, we don't know what he's in there for.
Who knows? Yeah, it could be something.
He could be a child molester. We don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah,
he made that little train so that when he gets out, he can lure somebody into his van.
So that's the takeaway. Ricky saves child molesters. Although he doesn't save him, that guy gets crucified at the end.
Well, so what happens next is I think the rest of the movie up until some other bullet points
really insane.
Up until most of the rest of the movie is basically just each person putting their dick on the table.
Yeah, he keeps interacting with the wing because there's not the wing warden. So the wing warden's there. So it's kind of like it's
like Darth Vader, and then the actual warden.
And he's got all the porn. So when he goes in to visit the wing warden, and the wing warden looks like a sort of disturbed version of Mao Zedong, and he's got like a fucking one eye thing, and it looks
Mad Mao.
weird. Yeah, Mad Mao. He's Mad Mao. I like that, Mad Mao.
He's Mad Mao.
Mad Mao. And they're talking, and you were the one who was just like, what's all that stuff in the back? What is that, like porn? And then it cuts closer, and it's porn. It totally is porn. He just has tons of porn back there.
Well, he's not a good-looking man, and he's not a very nice man. he has to spend some time with
and
himself.
he's trapped in a prison full of a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
And one very effeminate man, but he's not gonna be able to lay hands on that guy because that guy apparently is the ultimate badass.
But this underwarden Mad Mal brings Ricky in to be like, join me in my gang. I don't know why he needs a more powerful person in his gang because things appear to be running okay.
Yeah.
But he brings him in there, and then Ricky definitely has a chance to murder him. Like he even punches at his face and stops himself. Ricky does.
That's right. Yeah, he runs up. He does his like getting ready to do his Kame, which we're gonna see later is like Kamehameha moment.
Right. Yeah.
And then stops in like a real bad ramp stop sort of thing, which is pretty funny.
And that just happens. That could have ended the movie, right? That could have. Because again,
he would just done it. Well, no, because he has to kill the warden and like burn down all their opium plants.
Right.
Because that's what
when
he finds the opium, he burns down all the opium, and then we get that random flashback.
Yeah.
That turns into like an extended flashback because it's like it's a flashback into a montage that doesn't function like a regular montage. Like we actually watch him.
Yeah.
Learn from his uncle. So it flashes back to her dying. Well, they're actually going to go like, it looks like they're about to like go rape her or something. And she just jumps out the window and kills herself.
Yeah. She's in a bad part of town. She ends up at this opium den and kills herself.
Yeah.
And then we see Ricky, before she kills herself or before he knows or something.
Yeah.
He's very much like Luke in A New Hope where he's very overly whiny.
And he's super stoked about being a flute player.
Right.
Like, that's his fucking thing. He's imagine an adult man acting like a 12-year-old kid excited that he's playing the flute, and that's exactly how he's performing it because it's like way too naive. Way too naive.
That gives us a sense of his former training and whatever. And
in the graveyard with his uncle.
Come
here, young Ricky. It totally has a little bit of a weird vibe to it where he's going and learning from his uncle.
Ricky is not Goku. That's who he is. He's not Goku.
Yeah, he's not Goku. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just want to put not in front of like a standard known archetype.
I just there's something that's fun about renaming characters from what the author intended. Just to put it in their face that
I wonder. Actually, that's a good question. I wonder if this came out before the comics for Dragon Ball.
DBZ's pretty old, or Dragon Ball's pretty old.
Yeah, Dragon Ball is DBZ was the 90s.
Yeah.
But Dragon Ball, the first Dragon Ball,
it's got to be
comics,
80s, right?
It would be late 80s.
Late 80s.
It would have to be late 80s.
Well, fine. He's not Goku.
No, but he's not. Yeah, sure, he's not Goku.
And you can't argue with me because he's not Goku. Anyway, the series of like putting your dick on the table is the warden is like, you won't work for me. I'm gonna send my group of 4 powerful people after you, and he does, and they fight, and then. Ricky kind of wins, kind of loses, and then they crucify his buddy. And
then he pulls, and this cross is fucking huge.
It's really big,
unnecessarily, like to the point where like his legs are barely on like past the cross beam. It's that big. It's so insane.
It's like a 20-ton cross. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and Ricky pulls it out of the ground and throws it on the ground, and then another stupid fight ensues. And then what happens? Ricky gets kind of beat in that one, doesn't they? Is that where he gets buried?
Yeah, that's where he gets buried. Well, that's where the guys show up. Isn't that where the 4?
Yeah, I think that's where the 4
show up. So there's like the big tank guy, and then there's the
there's a tank and spank. There's a rogue that throws little nails attached to wire.
And then there's like, and that's the effeminate guy, right?
I don't think that's the effeminate guy.
No, because he's like the super badass. The effeminate guy is the guy who just like kicks all kinds of ass.
I mean, I say guy. You say guy. It's got to be loose because I'm still not convinced that this person was not a woman.
No, it's a guy. It's just it's based off of manga.
Okay.
And effeminate men, that's a thing.
That's definitely a thing in manga, yes.
Yeah, so it's a man. It's just a very womanly man who apparently kicks all kinds of ass. Because that's the last one he has to take down before he takes down the warden.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's like real badass about it. He's just kind of sassy with everything he does, though.
I don't know. I think maybe it's just a lady that masquerades as a man.
I mean, it could be that too. I don't know. I just don't think there's any women in this prison.
Except for that one person, and nobody touches her because she's so badass.
No, it might just be an effeminate man that's doing it. I don't know. I don't know.
See,
I don't fucking know.
Max, that really confuses me with my worldview.
It's Cowboy Bebop. It's Cowboy Bebop. It's Ed and I. It's Ed.
Sure.
Is it a boy or a girl? Ed was a girl.
Not important.
Yeah, but Ed was a girl.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, in this case, I think this is just an effeminate man.
Because you hear Faye off screen say like, "Oh, you're a girl."
Yeah. They add that in a little bit. I don't even know if that's even in the Japanese version.
I don't know. I just found that hilarious because it makes the mind wonder like, what did you just do?
Well, even the dad forgets. Remember,
Yeah.
like what he means when
Yeah.
Ed means something. Like even his dad forgets that if it's a boy or a girl.
Ed's awful father.
But yeah, so
They bury Ricky.
they bury Ricky,
And then stick a pipe down there.
Remember what happens before they stick the pipe, though, is all the prisoners are sleeping and they're super sad and bummed out that Ricky's all buried and going to die because they bury him for a week or something like that. And then they hear the flute playing that he plays on the leaf. And you're like, well, what's doing that? Oh, he can just play flutes while he's buried.
It's a magical power he has.
And then there's a bamboo stick that he's breathing out of / playing the flute.
It's funny how all of the inmates, they're very Greek chorus about them.
They are super Greek. Yeah, they just repeat like kind of keep you on board with what's happening.
And everything's very choreographed. Like in the opening scene, they
pee.
They all pee at the same time, and they sometimes like fight at the same. I don't know. It's very
like the
Greek
prison
chorus.
martial art version of Titus, the movie Titus.
Yeah.
So it's all dance chorus or choreography.
So they bury him, and he plays his flute, and it gets people's spirits up. So
and then they plug the flute, and you're like, oh god, he's dead, and then he's not dead. They just pull him out, and he's just pissed off.
Yep. as you would be.
Yeah, I guess, you know.
And then another fight ensues. That seems kind of unimportant.
There was a lot of fight. There was some fighting going on. They lock him in a prison and try to like get the thing. Though the warden and his like absolutely awful child shows up. The child that belongs in like Willy Wonka, like the fat kid from Willy Wonka.
The warden who's like a stereotypical super wealthy evil Chinese guy. Like in the Chinese movies I've seen,
super
he's that guy.
Like he looks like a guy who would be like you would cast that guy in the 1930s to be in like the Shanghai Triad or something.
Yeah.
Like he looks like that.
And if you look at the credits of this movie, this is Kim Jong-un's first appearance on screen.
It was during it was when he was studying. It was when he was studying abroad.
I mean, I'm being sarcastic, but
he looks a lot like
the child looks like Kim Jong-un, and
probably acts the same too.
Yeah, he's very whiny. He's always on people's legs, kind of like a horny dog.
He humps a lot. I mean, it's not full on humping, but he grabs the leg and you can see where it's going. You can see where it's going.
Thank God they cut away.
Yeah, they for. That's where the government, the British government was like, no, we're not having that. So
the warden comes in and they roll out the red carpet and the kid, is it the kid?
He trips on it and then
the kid immediately he like gets out of the car and immediately falls over.
Yeah.
I think it's because he was top heavy, but the warden thinks it's because somebody didn't roll out the carpet correctly.
Yeah. Yep.
And he yells, who didn't roll out this out correctly?
To, like, fuck the guy, like stab the guy with the eye or something.
Yeah. This poor guy is like, I rolled out the red carpet for you, and then he uses his staff to like skull fuck him to death.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
It's not nice.
No, the warden's not a nice person at all, and we'll find out the secret about the warden at the end because that's a big secret.
Which I thought that was a really hilariously contrived way to show how bad a bad guy is to just be like, you didn't roll out the red carpet correctly, now I kill you. It was just such a ridiculous scene to prove that he's a bad guy.
I want to know what was going on in Hong Kong in this period. Like, in England, like, was it, like, a thing against sort of, like, wealth and stature that the red carpet was just, like that's a direct rip on something?
I don't know. Maybe red carpets come from the blood of your peasants that you walk on to get to your throne.
Because this is clearly satire of probably political things that were going on in the 90s.
It felt
England.
Political.
It felt. Whoever wrote the book and came up with the story probably was commenting on something in a real weird way.
But jump forward to they have Ricky in a cell that
they fill with cement.
They fill
actually the ceiling comes down. No,
yeah,
wait.
They try to fill it with cement. Then
Right.
he escapes, and then they like knock him out again. And rather than just killing him, they put him in another cell.
Yeah, well, remember there's that part where we're like, he punches through everything. Why can't he just punch through the bars?
Yeah.
Like he's being crushed, but he doesn't, and then punches through the bars after he's done proving that he's how strong he is.
Well, because he's in the cement room, and then he gets out of that, and then they put him in the squishy room.
Yeah, and the squishy one is where
they put him in the squishy room with the Tank and Spank guy.
Yeah, that's right.
And old Tank and Spank is there, like kind of there to kind of torture him, I think, and get him to turn to the dark side or whatever.
But they try to kill him too.
Yeah. He beats up Tank and Spank guy in the cell, and then they make the ceiling come down to crush him. And
then
Tank and Spank guy,
it.
when he's fighting Tank and Spank guy ties his hands up with the bars, ties up Ricky's hands with the bars, and then Ricky beats him anyways. And then the ceiling comes down, and just to show how strong Ricky is, he's holding up this steel ceiling, and then the warden comes over with like some sort of shocking thing and shocks the bars. Yeah. And then Tank and Spank guy, I guess, is like, "Wow, Ricky, you're really strong and hot," and then holds up the ceiling.
It was a blossoming love story.
It was. It just wasn't allowed to blossom all the way because Ricky escapes, and the Tank and Spank guy gets squished.
Now, the underling. We have to go back because there's one thing before we jump to the end, because after it just sort of continues this way until the end. So there's one thing we're missing that we have to talk about, because remember the wing warden's first underling that he fights?
Yeah.
Well, this is the guy that cuts Riki-Oh's tendon.
Oh, we forgot about that.
And Riki-Oh, because this is the most insane thing, like, I've ever seen. Like, this is when I knew I loved this movie, was because he has to tie his tendon together, because the guy's like, "Oh, your arm won't work now," and then he takes his tendon, ties it together, and the guy is so impressed by this that he pulls out his knife, commits
Harikiri?
Harakiri, and takes his intestine. I was like, I'm going to kill you with my intestines now so we can die together. Because that's how fucking impressed he was. And then starts choking Riki-Oh with his fucking intestines.
Yeah, Ricky ties his tendon together so his arm will work, and then his adversary commits harikuri and starts choking him out with his intestines. Yeah. It is insanity.
It's so insane.
That was earlier on. We just forgot about that wonderful, wonderful part.
Oh, okay, yeah. So at the end, the meat grinder, we see the whole meat grinder things. There's a lot of meat grinders in this prison.
Yeah, flash forward to the main face-off, which is in the kitchen for some reason.
Between the warden and Riki-Oh.
And this kitchen is made up of mostly meat grinders.
It's just, and then there's just one giant meat grinder.
There's
like smaller ones and then a big one. So
and they make these people into like weird hamburger. It doesn't look like they ground up people. It looks like that's probably why they need so many prisoners, is to grind them up to feed to the other prisoners.
That was my guess. They're feeding them to prisoners. They're growing opium and feeding prisoners to other prisoners.
But the big reveal on why the warden is the warden, I guess,
because he turns into a giant monster. Like he actually.
He's
gets
like a
taller.
bridge.
He becomes a troll.
He's a bridge troll.
He becomes essentially a bridge troll, and it's kind of like uncomfortably racist the way he looks too. He's got like the big bone down his skull, and his hair's like frayed out either way, and it looks real weird.
Yeah, I don't really know. I couldn't really put my finger on it, but it did make me a little uncomfortable.
It's so weird. And so anyway, they face off. Ricky's like punching holes through the guy, like literally, because he's like blood is spraying out, and he's jamming holes in this guy, but he's just a giant fucking troll. And so he ends up eventually ends up throwing him in the meat grinder, grinding him to where it's just the head.
Yeah. And
then there's a riot going on that's taking place between like literally 12 people. There's and that includes the cops trying to suppress the riot.
Their background budget was not too great at this point.
He walks out and gets a sort of like Conan at the end of Conan the Barbarian moment with oh fuck, what's his name? The guy that James Earl Jones plays, the snake guy, Thulsa Doom.
Yeah. He's
Conan
holding
with
his
Thulsa
head.
Doom and holds his head up and throws the head, and then. We've been waiting for it because he's always about to punch people, and he can obviously punch holes in people, but he's like super ramp up punch.
Well, we've seen him punch holes in people's stomachs and chests, like big gaping holes.
Yeah, but we haven't seen like he looks like he was like, but every time he's just punching. This time, because remember, when he's about to punch the warden wing, he does this big ramp up thing.
Yeah.
You never see that until the end, when he walks up to the wall and literally his fist glows like he does do Kamehameha. That's his Kamehameha moment where he just literally punches a giant fucking hole in the wall. And by giant, I mean like it's
way
huge.
bigger than him.
It's so big. It's like, yeah.
And then all presumably all the prisoners and him walk off to get arrested again.
I guess. Well, see, the funny thing is he just pimps away, and it's this like epic shot. But all the prisoners are just cheering back in the prison, and none of them are going towards the hole he just punched in the wall.
They don't know how to exist on the outside.
Yep. They're just gonna be happy that Riki-Oh just pimps away. Because
that's the Greek chorus. It's like their lives are so inconsequential that they're just happy that Ricky's happy. And if we want to hop on your boat, Odysseus, and you just throw us at your enemies and we all die, as long as you're happy.
That's totally true. Because remember when the guy's like dying and like Ricky runs to his side and he goes, "Ricky, are you okay?" Like he just all they care about is Ricky.
Yeah. Max, I really enjoyed this movie.
I love this movie.
I had a good time.
So I found out about this movie way back in high school. There's a web. It may still be around. I don't know if it is the website, but it's called badmovies.org, I think. And it was just a guy who had, I'm assuming he was some old collector, had just a list of bad movies, and this was on him, and he would rate them like, this one's really hard and terrible to watch. Like, it's super hard to watch versus, like, this is one of the best bad movies of all time. So, like, I would follow it because at the time I was obsessed with Bad Taste and Meet the Feebles, and he had those movies on there and had given them, like, no, you need to watch these movies. They're fucking insane and amazing. But Riki-Oh was one of these movies. And so I found Riki-Oh and we all watched it and realized the magic of Riki-Oh.
It is. It's so much like, you know how you see movies like the new Death Race, where the violence is way over the top and gratuitous, but it doesn't really make the movie better. It's just like, it just seems a little pornographic. Like you're just watching this thing and going like, ooh, I didn't really need that. But Riki-Oh, like the violence being super over the top and crazy, actually makes me grimace a little bit because it's all practicals, and then actually adds to the fun ridiculousness of it. It really adds to it.
I think so. I'm a big fan of like the Shaw Brothers thmovies, and they're famous for they're the Hong Kong's like super violent kung fu films, and that's what I like about them is because it's still cartoony enough, but it's all practical, so it's real raw sometimes. Like sometimes you're like, oh God, oh that's hard.
I mean, in Riki-Oh, when this guy shows him that his tongue was cut out, and it's this grody practical inside of a mouth, it's pretty gross.
It's not like a weird like digital slithery thing. It's just like nasty looking. Yeah.
It just looks like it hurts.
Yeah. It just looks like it hurts.
Yeah. Oh, I just realized that if your tongue's cut out, you can't taste stuff you eat very much. That's rough.
Yeah,
I never thought about that. Anyway, I liked the gratuitous violence. I enjoyed this, like, the guy that got to play Riki-Oh. Really, it was. They
should have gotten him for Mortal Kombat because he kind of looks like the
guy they got to play for that.
Yeah, but way better.
He kind of looks more Goku-ish. Like, this guy's muscles were stupid. I mean, he in this prison, he just could have walked out of there.
Yep, the whole time he could have walked out. There was never, and that's like a lot of Asian films. They do like the sort of Superman story, the sort of unstoppable badass. The only question is like, the questions are not, is he going to win? The question is like the person he has to save or something. So like Yojimbo's that. Like Toshiro Mifune, like he just fucks. Even when he gets captured, you're like, oh, okay, he's still gonna find a way out of this.
I mean, really, that's the Superman story. Superman in a lot of the canon is so crazy powerful. It's not him. It's not him.
Never a question.
Yeah. No, he's just how he has to hold back so he doesn't explode the world.
Yeah, and that's always. I mean, fuck. Like at the end of Yojimbo, when Mifune literally dodges that guy's gunshot, like you're like, oh yeah, you're dead, man. I don't know.
I get like that. That's a great movie. It's a great moment, but a lot of times that's misused in movies because when stuff like that happens, it instantly lowers the stakes.
Yeah, but it's Kurosawa just knows what the fuck he's doing.
That movie was okay in that aspect, and I don't know why. I can't put my finger on it, but so many movies, especially lately, where somebody's that powerful, it just destroys the stakes for me, and it kind of ruins the movie. Like part of I still don't know how I feel about the latest Superman movie, which I know everyone loves to shit on it, and it wasn't like a great movie, but I almost appreciated how he just destroys the city and this massive body count happens, because that's what would happen.
Yeah, I appreciate that part. I don't appreciate him making out with Amy Adams like they did anything good. Like literally they make out with a destroyed city in the background. Like anything beyond that being ironic is just stupid.
Yeah, that's the time to cry and go help the wounded.
Yeah. I hate that movie, but yes.
Well, I do hate too how he finally decides to break this guy's neck after all these like thousands of people are probably dead.
I didn't like that. That was too like, that's not the way Superman kills people, because when Superman has to kill people, it has to be a big moment. Mm-hmm. So, and this happens in Superman 2 too, a little bit, where he's just a dick about it and fucking throws what's his name into the, when he's just like, haha, I took away your powers, and then crushes his hands and throws them out.
Yeah.
Like the way you do it with Superman is like, you're too powerful to be on Earth, so Superman has to drag you up in space and throw you into the sun or something. But like, because the sun's super powerful, it'd have to be like something that, like, throw him into a black hole. Like that's what I would have in my Superman. If because you don't just crack a dude's neck on Earth and you're like, peace, dog. Like that's not.
It has to be more epic.
Yeah, because they're gods.
Yeah.
Like when Superman has to resort to killing someone, it has to be like Doomsday, where half of the whole thing with Doomsday is him trying to get fucking Doomsday off the planet. Because he's like, all right, I gotta deal with this, but he's like, the fight is destroying everything. Mm-hmm. So like I know I'm ranting about Superman. I love Superman.
Oh yeah,
I love Superman, and so like this just makes me really upset.
My favorite Superman, my favorite version of Superman is actually the early '90s cartoon.
Yeah, the one that was kind of based off of the. It was the same style as
Batman.
The Batman.
The reason I love it so much is because the Superman in that world is not a god. Like people beat the shit out of him, and he beats the shit out of his enemies. Like he's very, very powerful, but he's not all powerful.
Yeah.
And I like that version of Superman because it's hard to get behind the existential crisis of being a god, especially in movie form. Like in comic books, I could see that being more of a thing. But in movies, I think it's really hard to get into that headspace.
Yeah. Well,
and that's the point of Superman.
If I made my version of Superman, it'd be probably play more like 2001: A Space Odyssey. There'd be parts where he's just like in the sun, thinking about shit.
I've been told that there's a version of Superman where he gets he either goes into the sun or too close to the sun.
No, I told you about it. He gets cancer.
Yeah, he gets cancer. Exactly.
He gets cancer.
You told me about it.
He gets cancer because
sense.
he's stopping Lex Luthor from essentially creating this sun bomb thing.
And that's a really interesting story.
Yeah, the Superman All-Star, where it's all about him dying and like how he's gonna like protect Earth even after he's dead. It's really good. It's really good.
Well,
so anyway, I mean, Riki-Oh's technically Superman. These are all Superman stories.
Yeah, Goku, Superman, it's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so that's the story of Riki-Oh.
Oh, pitch movie. How would you pitch it today?
Oh man, I would pitch it as low budget hour and a half Dragon Ball Z in prison.
in prison.
It's the Great Escape where. But
there's no Dragon Balls in it though. It's like
there are lots of balls in this movie. There are giant brass balls in this movie. No, I take your point. It's this movie. This movie is the male fantasy. It's classic male fantasy where you're so powerful, all you have to do is like be powerful to solve your problems. It's lovely. That's what it is.
I would just picture it as the Raid 3. The Raid in the future.
Well, your pitch is very succinct, which I appreciate. Yeah, he's just all about. But it's good. I really like this movie. It's stupid. It's so stupid, but it's good.
So, like what was it like? What was that from Pacific Rim with like honest trailers or whatever? So dumb, but so cool.
Yeah, I would put this in the realm of Pacific Rim.
Yeah, it's dumb, but it's rad.
Yeah,
it's dumb, but it's super rad.
I'll probably watch this movie again in my lifetime.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I think so. Awesome. Well, I'm glad we're finally on the same page about it.
You found one I'll watch again.
I found one to watch again. Not the Lensman. I guess that's just me. That'll just be me watching in my sadness.
Lensman is hard.
Starship. I'm never gonna stop. Never gonna stop.
Every time you say that, I just want to go like, think we're gonna make it. I don't know what that's from, but it's 80 something or other.
Yeah. So I think.
Well, cheers. Oh,
cheers.
We didn't. We're not drinking anything today.
No, we didn't.
I work tonight.
This whole fucking thing is a facade.
Yeah. We're watching this one after the fact because we had our release for Valley Girl D&D.
Yeah, so we actually recorded the watch and didn't have time to record the Hangover. So this whole thing is a lie.
So this is days later. We're drinking coffee. Because I have to work at 10 p.m. tonight, which is going to be great.
Yeah.
So this is our sober review.
Yeah. So the sober review, which is fine. We both liked it. It wasn't like one of the ones where you had to drink to get through it.
Right.
But now next time we'll be entering the surrealist nightmare that is Neil Breen and his first feature film called Double Down.
Double Down.
Oh. Imagine all I'm going to say is imagine Tommy Wiseau and David Lynch and Alejandro Jodorowsky made a movie if they were the same person.
I'm excited and a little turned on.
You should have said you were afraid, and then I would be like, or I'm not afraid, and I'd be like, you will be. You will be.
Well, that's a missed opportunity.
Oh, well. All right. Anyway, yeah. We'll see you next time.
Stay classy. Nothing about this is classy.
Nothing. This is the worst. All right. Bye.